Thank you for visiting my Snowflake Certification Knowledge Series video. In this video, I will help you understand the Snowflake security concept. Security is a very crucial topic for Snowflake certification point of view, and it cannot simply be ignored. In this quick video tutorial, we will cover security fundamentals, keynotes, tips and tricks, besides sample questions with detailed explanation to reinforce your understanding. Why the security is so important for the certification exam. Snowflake is highly secure cloud data warehouse system, and its understanding is crucial for Snowflake certification exam. You can expect at least 7 to 8 questions from this subject area, and this is a big number. If you fail to attempt any questions correctly from this subject area, there is a good chance that you cannot make it in the certification exam. Concept like multi-factor authentication, encryption, at rest, at flight are highest priority over all other security concepts. Other areas like network policy, role hierarchy, role-based access control, discretionary access controls are equally important. However, they are not asked so frequently compared to multi-factor authentications and data encryption. Compliance security and the data maskings are the other area where you may get 1 or 2 questions. All my videos are divided into smaller sections. We can call them chapters. You can refer them inside the video panel. As you can see here, that each chapters are having a demarcation. When you hover over those demarcation, you can see which chapter it is currently. And you can jump to the specific chapter by clicking. Alternatively, you can also click on the description section and you can refer those videos directly. This will help you to save time and navigate to the different sections of the video quickly. What is my primary intent to make these videos for you? Well, we all know that the Snowflake is the future of cloud data warehouse. Considering the fact I decided to be a certified Snowflake developer and an architect and spent around 6 weeks along my day job to clear the exam. I cleared the certification at the first attempt with fairly good marks. I was happy, but I was not very satisfied, especially after my certification attempt. I realized I could score nearly 100%, and some of the conceptual gap kept me away from the center. And hence, I decided to share my experience, the focus area, tips and tricks with all of you. If these videos helped you score better or near 100% or 100%, I would be very, very happy. So let's begin with this. Let's start with the syllabus for the security. If you look into the syllabus, security has a lot of subtopics. For example, access control, role hierarchy, privileges inheritance, multi-factor authentication, data encryption, network security and policies, federated authentication, and single sign-on, and Snowflake editions. Not all editions support all kind of security features, and the Snowflake is a software as a service and is secure by design. Now let's consider what happens in our data development lifecycle. You as a user or a data engineer first access the environment. And to access the environment, you use user credential. That is nothing but your authentication. Once you're authenticated, your user has privileges to certain object. And that part is nothing but your access control. Which all object within the environment can be accessed is nothing but your authorization. And that depends based on your role and different kind of privileges given to your role. Once you start accessing those objects, those data objects, then the data encryption comes into the picture. The data at rest should be encrypted. The data at motion should also be encrypted. Along with that, there are sensitive informations, credit card details, user SSN details, and many other things. And Snowflake also provide external validations or security compliance. So first, when you access Snowflakes via web UI or via any kind of connector, whether it is native or a JDBC, it is completely secure. The next comes accessing database, schema, table, views, sequences, and file format, SnowPipe and UDF. Those all objects are also secure, and your administrator can decide which object you should be able to access and what kind of operation can be performed on those objects. Third is data at rest or a motion. While loading the data, while unloading the data from stages through stages, all are encrypted. And the last one is network, firewall, password policies, and masking policies. So if you keep this picture in your mind, you will be able to understand how the Snowflake is designed considering all security aspects. Let's quickly understand how the multi-factor authentication work. So multi-factor authentication can be achieved 2 ways. Either you can opt for an SMS or you can install an app called Duo app. So Snowflake has something called Duo app. it consumes that DO app services. And whenever you provide your credentials to the Snowflake, then either you will receive an SMS or you have to give a passcode which appears on your DO app. And once that passcode is successfully verified, then only you would be able to access the environment. So how it looks like, your Snowflake logon comes here, and then once you push that passcode, then only you would be able to successfully get into the Snowflake. So that is how the multi-factor authentication works. Let's understand some of the key concepts about account access, authentication, and multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication can be implemented to increase security, right? A true and false question may come from this line. Multi-factor authentication is provided by a DO security. So a true and false question may come, or a multi-choice question may come, where they will ask which is the service provider which allows multi-factor authentication in Snowflake. Once multi-factor authentication is installed, DO app to be installed by the user. Each user must enable multi-factor authentication by themselves. Very, very important questions. Don't confuse that the system administrator or somebody else will enable the multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication should be enabled by individual. All user with account admin role should have multi-factor authentication enabled. It is a recommendation by Snowflake. Single sign-on or SAML 2.0 allows user to access via federated service. So if you are working in an enterprise environment and you may access your Snowflake through the Active Directory or some other identity provider, as long as IPD session is active, they can access Snowflake. So this is additional security provided by the Snowflake. Single sign-on and IDP is available, enterprise edition and above. So very important point, please keep it in mind. Multi-factor authentication can be disabled by account admin and security admin. It is possible that sometime you may lose your mobile or you may not have the access to your passcode. In such case, you can request your account admin and security admin to disable. So these two profiles can disable the multi-factor authentication, but they cannot opt on your behalf. Multi-factor authentication, couple of things to remember. It is a self-enroll process and cannot be done for others. It can be disabled permanently or temporarily by account admin or security admin. How to disable it? You can simply set and alter the user and give this command like disable underscore MFA equals to true and number of minutes for which it has to be disabled. All the connectors also need multi-factor authentication parameters if your account has multi-factor authentication enabled. Please remember that. How to pass it, like --MFA hyphen password, and you can give that passcode. Or in the JDBC URL, you can also give a passcode like this. Now, one important point, different user can use a single number for multi-factor authentication, but vice versa is not possible. So you may have a 3 account in your organization and you have a single mobile number. So for that, a user who has a multiple Snowflake account can register for a single mobile phone. Let's talk about object security. So we know if you look into the diagram, we have a schema, and schema is nothing but a kind of a context within the database. All other object like user, role, warehouses, resource monitor, integration doesn't come under the database. Now, database holds one schema or many schema. Each schema can have table, external table, views, secure views, procedures, sequence, stages, file format, pipe, stream, task, and UDF. And all those objects are secure. So let's understand some key points from here. All the object can be controlled by discretionary access control and role-based access control. So discretionary access control is a control where every object has an owner, and role-based access control is that each role is assigned to access certain object within the database and within the schema. So Snowflake implements a hybrid model. Discretionary access control handle ownership. Each object has an owner and the owner has full access to the object. So if you have created a table or a view, you are the owner. When I say you as a user is not the owner. You having a role, that role is the owner of that object. Role-based access control handle all other access except ownership like object privileges and role. So in a database or in a table, you can select, insert, delete, truncate, okay? And you can allow the users to have a different kind of permissions on those objects. So there are permissions like select, so that is or usage. So you can use it, but beyond that you cannot do anything. Object privileges assigned to role, which are in turn assigned to the user. Very important. So when we talk about a Snowflake, the roles are assigned to the user, and the user themselves doesn't have any kind of privileges. Since they belong to a particular role, that role is having the different kind of grants and access privileges, and that is what it helps them to operate on those objects. Now let's talk about authorization and access control. So you can see here there are three users, and the user which is in the middle has a role 1 and role 2, and each roles are having a different kind of privileges given to the different databases, tables, and warehouses. So what happens? Roles-based authorizations and not the user-based authorization. Authorizations for all database objects, including future objects. So what is a future object? So you have given an access to a database for a user or for a role, and that role can create a table, delete a table, and all those things. You can also tell any other future object which is going to be created in this space will automatically get a grant for all these roles. So that is called future object. Authorization for operation in Snowflake, like create, stop, start virtual warehouses. So it is not limited to select and all those things, even though you can allow users to perform a different operations, and different grants can be given to those different operations. So very important point. All actions logging, including failure. So if you are trying to perform any kind of operations within the Snowflake, every single SQL statement, whether it is success or a failure, is recorded, including where it has been accessed from, which IP it has been accessed from. So it is a completely secure and traceable environment. How does it look like? So for example, you go to your environment and check for the demo_db. You can see the owner of the demo_db is a system admin. It is not any user. Whoever has created this one was having a role system admin, and that's why that appears on this owner, right? Including the creation time and the comment. Let's understand data security, access lock, and encryption at rest and at motion. So data security is a very important thing. All the data is encrypted and uses AES 256 strong encryption. A question will certainly come on this space. All files stored in stage area is automatically encrypted using AES 126 or AES 256. Now there is a little confusion here. When it uses 256 and when it uses 128, it depends on your edition. But in general, if a question is asked, the stage area is automatically encrypted with AES 128 encryption. A special edition of Snowflake allows periodic rekeying and cluster and customer managed encryption. This is also important. So there are certain edition of Snowflake which support a rekey. We'll see in another diagram. Now, when you are connecting to the Snowflake via JDBC, ODBC driver, or through the web UI, or for any other native connector, okay, Snowflake also provide a complete security, because your data is moving between Snowflake environment to your local environment or your server, enterprise server environment. Okay, so all communication over internet is via HTTPS. All communication is secure and encrypted via transport layer security 1.2 and higher. Okay, application activity logging. History tab provides all historical command. No matter who is performing what, through what channel, everything is recorded into the history table. All detail, including session ID, etc., can also be viewed. So you can really see that from which session it has been accessed, from what kind of connector it is accessed, whether it's a web UI or a JDBC or ODBC or a native connector or a SnowSQL. All the detail, including the IP, would be visible in the history table. Each query has a query ID which helps for troubleshooting. So every query, whether it is success or failure, they will have a query ID, and through the query ID, you can understand what has happened. Now, the number 4 is that user access audit log. You can go, if you have account admin role, you can go to the Snowflake database, and there is an account usage schema. In that schema, you can see the login history. All the login history details are available there. Number 5, which is little important. So query histories are available only for 7 days. And if you want to really see beyond that, you have to go to the history schema where you can see all the detail. But by default, it is available only for 7 days. Now, Snowflake also claims that they also do the infrastructure monitoring, and they have a threat stack and Sumo logic to monitor production infrastructure. So if you have enterprise edition and higher, and if you have an NDA signed with the Snowflakes, you can really fetch this detail Now, how the data encryption at rest and in motion looks like. So assume that in a point one, you are in the corporate network and you are a customer or a consumer of the Snowflake. Okay, when you place the data into the staging area, it could be AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure. Okay, these things will be secured. You can provide a customer provided key, or Snowflake will automatically encrypt all those things which is available in this staged. Now, when you load data from your local environment or a remote machine to a Snowflake, how does it work? So you will use either a SnowSQL or some kind of native connector to load the data, and you will put the files. And when the data goes through this operation, it is end-to-end encryption. So remember that it is end-to-end encryption in Snowflake when data is moved from your local machine to the Snowflake environment. You cannot put the data directly to the table. You can put the data to the internal stage, named stage, or you can put to the table stage, or you can put to the user stage. Encryption key management. So I just want to show you these pictures. You don't need to go too much in detail. So account and table master keys are automatically rotated by the Snowflake when they are more than 30 days. So if you are on a certain higher edition like enterprise and above, you can really opt for the key rotation. And this is how it looks like. So you have a tri-secret secure for your business critical account, and you can have a key rotation for enterprise edition and above. You don't need to remember, just remember this through 2 points about 30 days and try secret key secure for your business critical account. Network security. So how Snowflake enable the network security? Network policy helps to control the Snowflake access. That is one of the important things. So for example, you are following certain compliance and nobody outside the US or outside the Europe should access your Snowflake. So you can apply the network policy to control the Snowflake access. There is account level network policy, there is a user level network policy, and all those things. So we call it IP whitelisting. So policy can be created to allow and disallow the IPs. Private link and private tunnel between customer and cloud provider, that can be provided, but it is only available for business critical and VPS customers. Number 4, private communication between SF and your VPC through the Azure link and AWS link. It is also available only in a certain edition of Snowflake. Only account admin and security admin can create, alter, drop, and network policy. Important point to remember here. Snowflake support is specifying range of IPs addressing that classless inter-domain routing notation. Create network policies. You can simply say my network block IP address like this and block IP list and like this. So this is a simple command number 7. Please remember that it is possible to temporarily bypass a network policy for a set of number of minutes by configuring the user object property. Like user level network policy take precedence over account level network policy, and the user level network policy management can be performed using SQL. Very important thing, sometimes they may ask a questions from this point number 9, that is it possible to do through the web UI? So user level network management cannot be done through the web UI. It can only be done through the SQL. Network policy to be enabled once created. Also an important point, just because you have created a network policy, it has to be activated. It doesn't get activated automatically. So how the web UI looks like. So if you are an account admin, you can go to the account admin, and once you go to the account admin, you can see the account tab, and once you see the account tab, you have to click on the policies. You can see all the network policies applied on your Snowflake account, and then you can choose any one of them or create it and then activate it. And this is how it looks like. You can specify the allowed IP addresses and blocked IP addresses, and this is how the SQL looks like. So as you can see that you can only manage account level network policies. User level network policies are not possible from the web UI. Now, when it talks about a compliance securities, what kind of compliance securities are provided by the Snowflake? So they have a HIPAA, PCI, NIST, SOC 1, SOC 2, and SIG Lite. So these are the compliance security which is given by Snowflake. So I am 100% sure that one question or more than one question may come from this area. Let's have a quick summary. So point 1, network and site. So there are 2 points which is related to the network and in which Snowflake edition these things are applicable. So you can really control whitelisting and blacklisting of any IPs, and it is applicable in all Snowflake edition. But point number 2 says when you try to have a private and direct communication between Snowflake and your virtual private cloud, then you need to have a business critical. Point number 3, account and user authentication. We have a 2 point from there. Multi-factor authentication, which is applicable for all the editions. However, single sign-on is only applicable in enterprise and above. So let's talk about object security. So in object, we have a role-based control and discretionary access control, and these are available across all the. Next is that data automatically encryption, and this is also applicable in all the Snowflake edition. When the data is stored in the stage environment or a final table, these are also applicable for all the environment and all the editions. Data security, periodic rekeying for encrypted data. This is available only on enterprise and higher, so please remember that. And next point is that support for encryption data using customer managed key. So if you are having your own key management, then it is only available business critical and above. Number 10, security validation. So you have a SOC 2, you have a HIPAA compliance, and you have a PCI. Okay, so SOC 2 is applicable for all of them. Okay, however, HIPAA and PCI is only available in business critical and above, not even an enterprise edition. So let's walk through 25 sample questions. Before we start the questions and explanation, I would like to have my disclaimer. All those mock questions are just a representation based on my experience and are indicative. The scope of the content in the exams may evolve, and that's why I prefer that you please refer the current syllabus and the Snowflake documentation. While going through the question, you can pause it, think through about the answer. The answer would be available in the same screen, and if there are reference link available, it will also appear. All the best for your Snowflake certification exam. You can refer the description section of the video for important links and reading material. Please do share and subscribe to my channel so you can get notified when the new Snowflake certification content is published. If you find any one of the content or the information is incorrect or inappropriate or not aligned with the Snowflake documentation, please share your feedback via comment section.